Hello guys, welcome back. Ever since the introduction of the M4A4 in CSGO back in the day, I was always curious to know what kind of M4 that actually is, because there are some unusual features on that gun. And recently I bought a important part of that rifle in airsoft form, which is this handguard right here. And I also dug through my airsoft parts bin, and I feel like we can take a good look at the new and improved model in CS2 and compare it with some of the airsoft examples I have. And maybe at the end of this video, we can put together a M4A4 replica. Before we start, I just want to say that I don't have all of the parts featured in the new and improved CS2 model. And the CS2 model is going to be the one that we'll be focusing on today. Now let's start with looking at the in-game model in CS2, the M4A4. You might be surprised to hear that the M4A4 is not a real thing. It's true. If you Google M4A4, Google will show you a bunch of CSGO skins and information and webpage about CSGO and CS2. The M4 is a real thing though. The M4A1 is also a real thing, like the M16 A1, A2, A3, A4 tells us iteration of the M16 rifle. So what this implies is that this is the fourth, or rather the fifth iteration, since M4 is one iteration of the M4, but it's not a real thing. By looking at the rifle, we can see that this looks like a regular military M4A1 since it has the flat top upper receiver. However, the barrel is short. It ends just in front of the triangular front sight base. Usually, a rifle like this is known in the real steel gun community as a Mark 18. The Mark 18 is a US Navy designation, however. Without going too much into detail, basically what the Mark 18 is a special short barrel upper receiver issued to Navy troops and special forces guys. The short barrel is more maneuverable in tight spaces like inside of a ship or getting in and out of a vehicle. It is also beneficial for suppressor use, since a suppressor is going to add some extra length in front. Here we can see that the barrel is slightly longer than the front of the bayonet lug. So the model in game featured probably a 10.5 inch barrel. Moving back, we can see a quad rail. This looks a lot like the regular M4 rail, the Knight's Armament RIS or RAS handguard. This one is a free float RAS. We can see the front of the handguard doesn't have a metal cap to hold it in place, and the rear of the handguard has this kind of design. Moving to the airsoft side, we have a longer free float RAS handguard that I have. This is the Mark 12 SPR's handguard. You can see the back piece of the handguard looks like that. The way that it works is that the rear ring is a threaded on piece designed to keep the handguard on the barrel nut. On top of the handguard, we can also see rail covers, and we also have airsoft versions to look at. These are from VFC and P5's handguard. They are the same kind. There is a metal springy part in front, and the way that it works is that you are supposed to press on it and it will move out of the way, allow you to install or take it off. On the left side of the handguard, we also see a sling loop there. That is the CQD style sling loop. Moving further back, we can see a pretty plain Jane standard M4 upper and lower receiver. The rear grip of the M4A4 appears to be A2 grip, introduced with the M16 A2. We can see that there is a little bump about 1/3 of the way down of the grip, and yeah, that is different from the earlier M16 A1 grip. On top of the receiver, we have a arms folding rear sight, and further back we can see a sling loop poking out the back of the receiver. That is actually a separate piece. It's called a receiver end plate. This style of sling loop is also made by CQD. Moving further back, we can see that there is a chunky triangular rear stock. This is what we call a sopmod stock or a crane stock. Notice that there is a metal piece to the back of the stock here. That is a QD socket. A normal issued crane stock doesn't have a QD socket, so meaning that this is not a NSN issued part. Also, we can see that the other side of the fire selector doesn't have a lever here, so meaning that this is a non-ambidextrous standard military style selector. Interestingly, on top of the selector, there should be another pinhole. That is an important feature of the military M4s, since without it, you cannot fire in full auto like a machine gun, meaning that this gun shouldn't be able to fire full auto. On the other side of the handguard, we can see a full-length rail cover instead of a CQD sling loop and a shorter rail cover. It is pretty nice that they didn't just mirror the other side. From the front of the rifle, we can see the muzzle device has a little cutout on the bottom there. This and the design of the muzzle device in general shows that this is a KAC QD muzzle device. This birdcage flash hider can attach Knight's Armament M4QD suppressor. Maybe that is the original intention for the classic suppressor feature of the M4. From the underside of the rifle, we can see how chunky the sopmod stock is, and we can also see that there is no screw inside of the rear grip, which is not correct. However, this is probably a good thing, since added detail means added polygons, means more overhead for the GPU and worse performance. Now finally, let's put the parts on the M4 and see what it looks like. Starting with the A2 rear grip, and then the folding rear sight. I don't have a ARMS brand folding rear sight, however I have a Troy one, and I chose it because it's got a angular look to it and has the protective wings to the side of it. And then the rail covers. Followed by the CQD sling loop, which is the wrong order, so I have to take the rail covers off again. Now the other rail cover is on top. I couldn't put it on with the triangular front side base, so I have to do it off camera. It's interesting that the part that is most likely to be in contact with your hand, the lower part, is not covered by the rail covers. Perhaps it was left open so the developers can consider adding like a foregrip or something. And here's what we got. It doesn't look a lot like the in-game model because the M4 is covered in spray paint. I didn't do it, I bought it this way. Here's it with the NT4 suppressor. Perhaps this is what it was planned to look like with the suppressor function. And here's it with a different stock. The sopmod stock is rather bulky looking, so perhaps this one will balance it out a little bit. It's kind of hard to film the first person view with my tripod setup. I hope you find this video interesting. Thanks for watching. I really like the subtle differences and legitimate improvement over the regular marketing. There is another prominent video game M4 that features a rail like this, which is the Metal Gear Solid 4 Snake's custom M4. They even mentioned it in the cutscene that the M4 features a free float handguard. Perhaps one day I'll get some extra parts to put together a Metal Gear Solid 4 M4 lookalike. The front sight is a folding front sight, which is known as a SPR type in Airsoft terms. Otherwise, it looks rather standard. Thanks for watching.